One of the first memories I have is of a police officer telling me my dad wasn't a bad guy, but that he did something bad. I might have been pretty aware of what was happening at the time, but I don't remember too much. But I'm pretty sure my dad got arrested that night. I'm not sure what for. My parents had me really young, at about 19 or 20. I don't think either of them were prepared to have a child, let alone two. For the first 7 years of my life, and the first few of my brothers, my mother was a single parent and we lived where I'm living currently, with my grandparents. The only real friend I had through these years was my Uncle John, who was about 5 years older than me. Even though there weren't any other kids around my neighborhood, John and I found many things to do, have fun, and most importantly, keep busy. Once we even slid into a storm drain and went exploring. Looking back, I'm not sure why we didn't see the danger in a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old deaf kid doing these things, but I guess that comes with age. When I was 7, my mom married my stepdad, and a year or so later, he adopted me and my brother. I didn't fully understand what that meant, but I was happy to have a father in my life. Now, all because I was happy didn't necessarily mean I appreciated him acting like my dad. My brother and I were real jerks to our stepdad. Never the classic, "you're not my real dad" quote, but we knew that if he upset us, we could tell our mom, and it would start a fight between them, and we'd get off the hook. Looking back, we were horrible. It's kind of one of the very few things that I regret doing. After being married for a couple of years or so, my mom and new dad had my brother. Unfortunately, he had a jaundice problem and very frequent ear infections. We got to take him home, but most of what I remember is him having to be under lights to treat him. He also had to get tubes in his ears. He had a few Velcro patches around his eyes so that he didn't have to go through a lot to cover them. As he got bigger, I was actually the one who got him to walk from one couch to the other for the first time. It was about 10 feet. A while after that, my first sister was born. After living in Idaho for a while, my dad got stationed in Alaska for 4 years. In 5th grade, I met 4 of my most memorable friends: Alex, Marvin, Nikki, and Ben. We always played together during recess, and I found out Alex and Nikki lived basically the same street as me. This was the first time in my life I ever had so many friends and kids living so close to me. Alex, Nikki, and me would always be trying to build forts or riding our bikes. In 5th or 6th grade is when I also fell in love, quote, for the first time, but as you'll hear again later, she wasn't as serious as I was. Living next to me were my friends Austin and his older brother Derek. I thought Derek was the coolest guy I ever met. He lent me Warcraft 3, which is why I'm so into World of Warcraft and Blizzard games to this day. Unfortunately, Derek and Austin moved away, and then my dad got stationed back in New Jersey. I was about 14 or 15 when we came back. I was ecstatic that again, after 7 years, I was living near my uncle and family again. Starting school again was much easier now that I learned how to have friends. My first few friends after moving back were Devin, Sam, Kyle, and Shelby. During middle school is also when I found out that I was likable and some girls actually found me attractive. By the end of a school day, I had received 2 carnations and 2 letters from girls that by the end of the next day, I knew their names. One of them stuck out because I had already sort of a crush on her. Fall semester of 9th grade was one of the worst times of my life. My first day of school was amazing. I was really looking forward to high school. But then I got a reality check for the first time since my dad got arrested, that life isn't always happiness. I got off the bus and saw about 3 police cars outside my house. I had no clue what was going on, but my grandparents were outside crying, and I wasn't allowed in. I thought my brother Devin had died, and I started to cry as well. I was finally told to go inside and talk to my parents, where I was told that my newborn sister had died only 30 days after she was born, and they weren't sure why. Feeling a tiny relief that my brother hadn't died, my heart sank again. I felt like everything I had ever been happy about was for nothing, that it had all been a dream. The friends I made, the things I was excited for most, nothing meant anything to me anymore. This began the stage in my life that I'm still in after 8 years, called depression. Moving on to a much lighter topic. Summer after freshman year, I started talking to this girl, one of the ones who gave me an anonymous carnation. She was really cool, fun to hang out with, funny, always seemed like she really cared about what you were talking about. Around that time, I was either hanging out with her or my new best friend Matt. Me, Matt, and a bunch of friends he had known for a while all became friends and hung out and played video games almost every day. His parents were really nice, and I was actually really jealous of him. His parents were together, he had things mine couldn't afford, and their rules seemed a bit better than the ones in my house. Eventually we formed this group called Team Awesome, where we hung out Friday after school at our friends Chris and Rachel's house. Their parents were super nice to us, considering they had to make food for about 8 or 9 people instead of 4. Though I often couldn't go because, like I said, rules were more strict at my house, so I missed out on it a lot. Throughout that time, I was hanging out with that girl until she said she didn't think she'd ever be ready for a relationship. After talking to a female friend about what I should do, that friend kissed me, and we were together 2 days later. That only lasted about 4 months, till I realized I didn't love her in a "I want to marry you" kind of way, like I did with the previous girl. After that, I got mono. I lost 40 pounds. I always thought I was fat, so I was really happy about this. I started talking to the first girl again, as well as Matt's sister's friend. About 2 weeks later, we were together, and I did my best not to talk about the first girl, which my current girlfriend knew the history of our relationship. That's not cause problems. This relationship ended after 4 months as well, and too many first times for me, because I found out that the first girl had feelings for me, and I was willing to work things out no matter what. On April 26th, I kissed the girl I loved for the first time. She asked me out to prom, which would never work in Hollywood, but made me really happy. I was determined to show her how happy I could make her. On June 3rd, as prom was ending, I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. We were both really happy to finally be together. Unfortunately, I always felt like she could leave me at any point. This is a period in my life I call a veil, just masking the depression. Though I was really depressed, my friends and relationships took me away from my thoughts and forced me to feel at least a little bit happy. In the case of my girlfriend, she made me feel as though I wasn't depressed at all. Little did I know, until recently, that my anxiety stemmed from my depression. I lose motivation and drive to do anything, even if it's something that I enjoy, even my YouTube channel or Twitch. This put a lot of stress on my relationship at points, though the most stress was caused by genuine concern for her safety. It was when I was lashed out for being a quote good boyfriend that I would get anxiety or suspicious about things she still may not or will never know. We had been together for 4 years when, out of quote nowhere, though I knew it was going to happen about 2 months beforehand, she broke up with me. I still don't know why. The reason I could tell it was going to happen is because she never listened to me anymore. She just stopped caring. But at the same time got mad at me for not talking. I'd gone out of my way over these 4 years to not argue over petty things. That seemed to be all my parents ever did, and I knew that wouldn't help a relationship. I wanted to scream everything I was thinking at her, but I didn't because it seemed like that would only validate her leaving me. I didn't want her to have any validation at all. Since then, I've thrown myself into doing what I really enjoy, which is entertaining on Twitch, playing games, and on YouTube with my skits and storytime episodes. I don't know what's for me in the future, but I hope YouTube and Twitch is in it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to look at the video and subscribe, please. Also follow me on all my social medias, on the Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and also on my Twitch page. Make sure to leave a like down below and comment if you feel like I'm just whining about my life. Thanks guys, peace out.